Hello and welcome back to another episode of Good Morning Soul. I hope you guys are having another wonderful morning. And today, I'm going to be talking about good old footyball, good old American football. And before I go into the gist of it, I kind of want to break down like what I'm specifically going to be talking about. I'm going to be kind of giving my background with football and just that kind of stuff in general, and that will lead up to like these several stories that I think are kind of fun. And football is never anything I've been into. Like, my girlfriend is pretty into football, but as a kid, you know, I got into a couple of sports. I remember playing soccer for a little bit. Amateur wrestling I got into for a little bit. I played baseball for a couple of years. And, you know, I would play football, like, with other people just to fuck around or whatever. But it was never anything I got into. And watching football on TV was never a thing because, you know, no one in my family watched football. So there's never any, like, reason to get into it. But over time, like, I think I try to get into so many things, you know. And, like, football is something, like, I know nothing about and has all these, like, things going on with it that I think every time the Super Bowl comes on, obviously I'll watch it and I'll try to make it as hype as I can for someone who doesn't actually give a shit. But like, I've never been a guy who watches it like week in, week out, and I don't really care who wins ever. Like, it's only a game at the end of the day. Like, even like recently the Vikings were like in the playoffs and I didn't actually care if they won. You know, I was just, you know, kind of going along with it. But I hit the microphone, I'm sorry about that. But as time went on, I've like slowly kind of like been interested in football. But recently, and there's been a couple times where you're like, again, the Vikings, you know, that's my team, I'm from Minnesota. Whenever they get hyped up and, you know, I see all these other people getting hyped up, you know, even though I don't actually give a shit, like, I'll become a part of that, like, in any way, shape, or form. And the first time I remember this happened is when the Vikings were in the playoff, and, you know, this is when Brett Favre was, like, still our quarterback or whatever, and we were fighting the Saints, and I remember it was this big match. Me and my brother were watching it, and, you know, we were being, like, we were trying to be good football fans, you know, screaming at the television, all of that kind of stuff. And the Vikings, I remember right at the end of the game, there was like a couple of seconds left, and the Saints had a field goal, and that's how they won. That one little field goal at the end that was like far as hell away, but then it was a clean kick or whatever, and they got it and they won, and they went to the Super Bowl, and they even won that Super Bowl, and it was their first Super Bowl. So that was pretty, you know, cool for them and pretty shitty for us, but whatever. But recently, this last season, the Vikings were killing it all season. I kept hearing about it. My girlfriend was, you know, keeping me up to date, you know, saying, oh, they won again. And then we had the playoffs, and we were fighting the Saints again. And good God, like, it was kind of horrifying. I was at B-Dubs with my mom, my girlfriend, and we were watching this game, hyping it up, and it was like shades of that last time. Like, literally, we were neck and neck, and then the Saints were going for a field goal. They kick it, and it's clean, and that's how they're gonna win the game. And then there was like a couple seconds left on the clock or whatever. You know, not anything. Like, I thought we were gonna win, and then there was that field goal. Like, I thought like nobody was gonna get another point. But then, out of nowhere, like, I don't know if you guys saw this clip, there was like a couple of seconds left, and the Vikings fucking won. I don't know how, but they did. Like, there was this Hail Mary, he caught it, and they just won. And then it was so depressing what happened after that, you know, even though like that was like the probably best football game I'll ever see. The one that followed it was like kind of like evidence of like why I don't watch football. You know, I watch wrestling, but like with wrestling, like once you expect an amazing game, like you're probably, or an amazing show or whatever, you're probably gonna get that. Like, they can actually control like what matches are gonna be better or whatever. Whereas football, you know, it's competition. Like, they don't control that. So the game that was after that was, I think we fought the Eagles and we just got destroyed. And that was that. And the Super Bowl for that hasn't actually aired yet, so I can't tell you who won. But I think that was like the little like nail in the coffin for me as to like why I don't get into football. Like, I'm too into like storylines and stuff like that. Like, and I think I could like make a whole episode about that, so I probably won't go past that. But like, I really do like the idea of football, and I like supporting my team. You know, the Vikings, I think, are actually like a cool team, like aesthetically. Like, when I see other people in crowds, like they're dressed like as eagles or like other things, like things that aren't all that interesting. But then I see the Vikings fan, and you know, they're decked out in purple, they're wearing like Viking costumes, like actual things that like make sense and like are like cool designs, stuff like that, which I know no one actually gives a shit about. That's probably I'm probably the only person who cares. But like, what other differences are like when it comes to teams other than stuff like that? Like, I don't really care like how good the team is. That's kind of irrelevant. Like, if you only cared because they were good, then everyone would like the Patriots, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So like, I'm just like, when people like stand up for their teams, I'm just kind of like, and they're so passionate about it, and sometimes they like the teams that aren't from where they're from, and I'm just kind of like why do you support this team that isn't from where you're from? Like, and I've never heard like a good comeback to that, right? But like, whereas I like the Vikings because, you know, their like logo, the little differences that are like with the teams, all of the differences that we have, I think are pretty cool. And I think we can actually do things with our costumes, and we can do things, I say we like I'm part of the team. I hate when people like say like we, like when they're talking about sports. But yeah, the Vikings, I think, are just like, when it comes to stuff like that, like more interesting. But, and obviously I care because, you know, I'm from Minnesota originally, so obviously I'm gonna support that team. But anyway, I think that's gonna be it for this episode. I don't have an amazing amount of stuff to say about football, so actually, I think I'm gonna close this video out with a little Minnesota accent thing going on, because I like to imitate this voice that my you know, buddy from work used to do, and he would be like, "Oh yeah, go Vikes," and so I think I'm gonna close the video out with that and say, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and go Vikes, yeah. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and with that, I leave you, yeah.